Hi, everyone. Welcome to the TimingResearch.com Analyze Your Trade, episode number 171 for August 31st, 2021. My name is David Kosmeter. I'm the creator of TimingResearch.com, and today we will be discussing your trade ideas. So today I've arranged for Norman Hallett to join us, and you should be seeing his screen right now. And the option professor is back to moderate, so I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to him.
Okay, great. Hey, welcome everybody. Getting ready before the long holiday here. And so we're going to go through some stocks that you guys have put in and see what they look like. But before we get started, Norm Hallett is here from the Disciplined Trader, and he's going to give a quick background on himself for people who are not familiar with Norm, and a little bit about what's going on at his company. So Norm, take it over.
I thought everybody was familiar with me, Jim.
Thanks
for having me. Well, for those who don't know me, shame on you. Now, for those who don't know me, my name is Norman Hallett, and I've been in the business for decades. I don't say how many decades anymore because it makes me sound too old. But I started out in the options business, running a very large option firm, worked for Payne Weber, and had my own entities. I've managed money as a commodity trading advisor and whatever. My focus is primarily, although it's primarily on commodities, I have a love for stocks as well in my general portfolios personally. So I'm constantly using my technical skills to analyze that too. So I'm going to kind of give you the way I look at things today in a very simple way and kind of an old school way. But I think you'll see why I do what I do and why I have certain opinions about certain stocks that I've already taken a look at. That Jim gave me the symbols before we started. My focus really is helping traders with the mental and emotional issues of trading. I have developed and written books on building trading plans, and they always take into account the mental and emotional aspects. And I'm going to kind of demonstrate a little bit of that as we talk about here. But this is really not about me and what I do. That's just my background. It's about the stocks that you've asked us to take a look at, and that's what we're going to do.
Okay. Sounds good. We got a pretty good list here, 15 of them. First one is XPEV. Okay. And they are a electric motor vehicle manufacturer out of China. So obviously they got nailed here a little bit, and now they've been meandering. So where are we going to break out or what?
You know, I have a lease that's running out on one of my cars, and it's just been crazy trying to get any kind of deal with the chip shortage. Used cars are selling at the lease that I have in my current car is they always give you a buyout price, and it's always way above what it should be. Well, it's not. If I bought it cash and sold it for what they're getting for it, I think I'd make almost $10,000. It's just crazy, the used car market. So, I kind of looked at that. Yeah, this stock is kind of asking, I think, where to go. And I'm going to refer a little bit to Hima's work down here. Hima Reddy, who would probably scream at me with some of the analysis that I do with her work. But I found it's good for what I do. This is the RSI. These are particular bands that are important, and when they are important, I'll point it out. Generally, they're kind of a secondary thing that I look at as more of a confirmation. But I drew some lines here. The top line is the tops, including the wicks. I like to draw lines also on the bodies. The Japanese farmers who invented this paid much more attention to the body than they did to the wicks. And so I draw that line also. And it doesn't matter what line I draw. We seem to be trapped in a descending wedge here. And I don't know. This is of all the stocks that I took a look at, this is probably the one that I'm not don't really have much of an opinion other than wait for a signal of some sort. Wait for either. The problem is if it breaks to the upside, you don't have much of a distance here. You only have about $4 or $5. On the downside, the same. So this is not this could be a good long-term hold if you have. I don't know exactly what XPEV does as far if it's electric cars or whatever, but if they have
it's electric car manufacturer. So again, if you are a believer in the theme, it might make sense, huh?
Yeah, I think so. What's your thinking on this?
My thinking is that it looks like it wants to break out to the upside. And my prejudice is that with the Beijing Olympics coming up in February of 2022, my feeling is they're getting all their dirty laundry out here in the summertime. And as we go into the fall, things are going to be different because I think they'd want to have a very nice, pleasant face on when everybody shows up in February. So I would not be surprised to see the Chinese market have a very big fourth quarter rebound as the news moderates.
That's
my prejudice, and this stock, if it starts breaking above 44, will start to confirm my prejudice, I think.
Yeah, there's a lot of lines I could have drawn here, including lines of where you're accumulating, you're in kind of a band, and of course that would portend this stock to be somewhere in the 60-70 range if it did break out. So
yeah, I don't know what the PE is on it. It could be a very relatively reasonable value if you compare it to other ones. Of course, the why don't you put up NIO, because isn't that the Cadillac of Chinese electric stocks? NIO, NIO. And I'd rather buy this. Yeah,
this looks like it's coming at least testing support,
Yeah.
But it's also, let me look a little bit further here. Yeah, I think you've built a pretty good base around this price. So
my feeling is the Chinese are highly choreographed, and I don't think they want to, the Olympics to be in there while Alibaba is going to 80.
Yeah, there's another electric company, Candy, that hasn't been doing so well. Another China. You see, this stock has had some big potential, but just never made it. They released cars here in the United States and had a big opening, but it fizzled. So there's a number of these stocks. I think maybe buying them in a bundle for those that when you can buy a $5 stock here, it's been at 10. That may be a better ask than taking a $46 stock and hoping it goes to 60 or 70.
Yeah.
Whatever.
They all seem to be in the same kind of trying to make a turn, but the jury's still out kind of thing.
Yeah, agreed.
Next one is FUV, which is another electric vehicle company.
Is it?
This one's in Oregon, though, a little closer to home.
Yeah, this one I drew some arrows on. I thought I would just share some of the things. The one major thing that I look for when I'm looking to buy or sell a stock is a particular signal that I find is very reliable. This is the 8-bar exponential moving average, and this right here is a trigger where you have one or a series of indecision, where the bodies are very small. I don't pay attention to the wicks. It's said that if the open and close, if the market opens and closes near or at the same price, that indecision is used to put traders on the floor to sleep. But when it's followed by a decisive candle through, I'm using the 8-bar in this particular case, that gives us a new direction where one would look to stop themselves out and call themselves wrong above this 2-bar formation, and look to take a scalp with the first real extension of this, and then allow the rest of the position to ride along this bar. And this is one of the stocks that I thought had a really nice, some stocks seem to follow it a little bit better than others. This one had a nice move downward. This one here, you can see that you would have had your scalp. When I say an extension of the scalp, I usually look for the same length as the extension bar. So I would be taking my scalp right around here, and then I'd be moving my stop to break even. So I'm not taking a lot of risk here when I'm seeing an extension move. And so you had a scalp success here. There's another one that looks good. This one here was something that led to at least a scalp. But most recently, you had this move here that would have taken out the scalp here, but didn't follow through. And right here, we're looking at something that could try to be a bottom. I think this is probably the best looking one of all as far as a trader is concerned. One of the other things I want to point out is this is Hima's work down here, where this red bar is where a bearish market would usually find a limit to how far it would rally. And down here is a bearish support area where it wouldn't go down much further than this. So we're down at the bearish support level here. We've just poked over this 8 moving average. And, I think there's some reason to believe we're going higher, but, it's really not a valid trade. If I was in this, I think I'd hold this stock.
Yeah.
Because the loss potential is not too great. You have a lot of indecision here. I'd really like to see an extension. What do you think?
I think you're right on. You want to hit on these moving average numbers? Because I kind of remember 40, 50, and 60 being really kind of important numbers, but you're pointing out like that red line about how high is that, about 55%?
Oh, these right here.
Yeah.
This is 45. Well, this is 40, 45 and 55 the red lines.
Okay.
Where do I have that right? I'm gonna need my glasses for this.
I think it's
65. 55 and 65.
Right.
Are those lines, and
40. So
the
the throwback rally shouldn't take you above 55 is what you're saying.
Yeah, I just don't see. Yeah, that's right. That's right. And when you start to see, when you start playing in that area, this is not quite as defined as I like to see it. This is why Hema would tell me not to talk about her system.
Well, we just talk about your interpretation.
Yes, right. It's my interpretation.
It's a free country, right? Right.
That's right. That's what I tell her right back. But she'd be better in analyzing. But I do think that when you get to this area, and it's shown it pretty well here, and she doesn't look for the huge extremes to be overbought or oversold. So, this is something you could buy and hold for a chance.
Does she feel like if it breaks 60, that's the time where you'll get a big acceleration? And if it's been, I was noticing this, I wanted to ask you, if it gets above 60, that's when you can get a big acceleration to the upside, or if it's under 40, you can get a big acceleration to the downside.
Well, what she's looking for is a bearish move to expire, to exhaust itself here,
okay,
and then rally to this point. On a bullish move, she looked for the market to go up until it hit this area between 80 and 90.
Right.
And then when it corrected, it would correct in this momentum area. You do that kind of thing, and then you match it with one of the Fibonacci lines on a correction, and you've got two pretty good reasons to look for a trigger to the long side, for instance.
Yeah. Now, as far as I noticed this, I don't know if there's if you've been trading in the 60s or 70s on the RSI, and for whatever reason you break under about 58 or 55, that sometimes is the trigger that we could get a significant drop. I noticed that in the drop in the S&P, both in July and on August, that we were in the 60s, and then once it broke to 58 or 55, that's when you got another 100 S&Ps on the downside.
And I think it's important to note that this is what you're saying. My general opinion is that, yes, for some, I think every stock and every index is a little bit different the way it responds to momentum. I think it's the money that's behind it, don't know the foreign entities, the local entities. My point is that the way you have just described that means that that's one of the main things that you trade, and only somebody who trades something either exclusively or within 3 or 4 major things would recognize something like that. But generally, I go, because I trade so many things, although it's mostly gold and the commodities. This watching, and we'll see 1 or 2 of these stocks as we go along that has a little bit more of the HEMA feel to it.
All right. Well, we can't get away from electric vehicles. The next one is LI, which is another Chinese EV maker, and it seems similar to the other ones.
Yeah, here it is. I was hoping it was Long Island Lighting, but it wasn't. This is probably this is another one that, and I guess the way I draw the lines, I think you would think that this. I've been on the show enough with you that you may think that this stock has some potential to the upside, and I agree with that. And part of my agreement is what we're looking at here, where now, although we seem to be trading between recently the green, and we're hovering here in the green without really breaking it. And we're starting to see a little bit of an upturn. This would be the area where a market that wants to be bullish would hold. And this arrow that I drew is maybe more proof to that. So, I mean, it looks like, boy, when I drew this, it didn't break this line. Of course, this line is a little bit arbitrary, but I think we, there's a lot of noise up here, and there's a lot of places we could stop. It's we're looking at $30, and 34 and 36 are areas. Let's see what it looks like all the way back here. Oh, it is capable of spiking to 50, but this looks like a sort of a channel happening now. This may have been one back here without much definition. I wouldn't call it that, but it's something to watch. I think it's a little confusing, but based on what we're seeing as far as support from the RSI, I think we could have something here. And if we open in here, and if we open down, especially if we pull back a little bit and then break this high, maybe a good long trade.
Yeah, they all seem like they want to make a turn here, so I don't think the guy's in the wrong neighborhood.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been watching. I try to keep CNBC off, but they've been talking a lot about electric cars.
Well, I think that's the whole future. I mean, they're starting to try to get mandates that we're going to be 50% electric by 2030, and
yeah,
so the direction is in this direction. So the question is if Toyota, in my mind, the question is once Toyota and Honda and GM and Ford get into it, are these small players going to be able to exist? That's the question.
Yeah, and you can almost see, but it could mean consolidation for some of these other companies.
Yeah.
So,
like I say, I mean, I think that's the bigger risk, is that competition comes in, which squeezes margins, which squeezes out smaller players sometimes.
mhm.
Next one up is Keys. This is a stock that I bought on a breakout above 150. It's certainly gone up since then. That was the end of June. So in the last 60 days or so, look at what this thing's been doing.
Yeah, this is a nice stock, and it looks like it's this is that formation that I talked about. Really, kind of the ideal where you have a number of, although this stock tends to have small ranges on the daily basis, but when you have a doji, which is the absolute indecision range, followed by a biggest candle in a couple of weeks, you have a signal that wants to look at another upleg, and it certainly happened here.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. I mean, this stock, you've got to hold it.
If you're looking for an entry, though, do you think you might, with the RSI where it is, would you try to see if you could?
Yeah, that's another thing.
Price or something.
Stocks like this, I mean, we've been playing in the higher area. Yeah, this is maybe more extreme than some of these others, but it doesn't seem to care.
No.
We've been playing in the high range, and we're looking at, a monster here. What is it? Tell me about this stock.
Well, the electronic tests and measurement equipment and software out of Santa Rosa, I think they're highly into, the stuff that's the new stuff like AI, cloud, that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
This is an example.
They have technology that's linked to, the new way the technology business is going.
Yeah, which brings up a good point. I know some of the best traders that I've seen, most successful over decades. They look for the shovel and not the gold.
Right.
And that's what it sounds like you have here.
Yeah. It was a spinoff from Agilent Technologies, and basically, they have a lot of different field equipment stuff that they do, and so they have a lot of, and I see the word aerospace and defense, industrial in there, semiconductor industries. This is who they're serving. They're serving telecom, aerospace, industrial, computer, and semiconductors. It sounds like they've got good customers.
Did you throw this on the list, or was it requested by somebody else?
Oh, no, requested. I just noticed. I'm not familiar with all these stocks. Every once in a while, I am.
Yeah, this. I mean, if I were advising somebody, I would say you don't want to chase this market, but I will say that on a pullback, certainly to 165. But this, if you can see it pulls back, but it doesn't give you much.
No.
And so any pullback to the 170 area, if it happens to be, again, you have to wait for the signal again to move higher. you don't want to just buy because it comes down. So, always wait for that buy signal. But look how it's riding this 8-bar exponential moving average so beautifully on a closing basis. Even in here, I mean, you had a little shakeout here. But I always look for two candles that closes below. And if that second one is green, I give it another day. And this would have been even in here, 1, 2, and then boom. Very nice.
Yeah, pre-holiday, you generally get a nice bid on the market, and then after the holiday, sometimes they take a breather. So maybe this thing in the first and second weeks of September, might give you a chance.
I mean, the volumes are lower than I think than it usually is, isn't it? It's my crazy just lack of range, especially in the currency.
Well, one guy was telling me that the market has been going up when there's low volume, the market is strongest. So it's kind of an indication of no sellers.
Interesting. Yeah. Well,
all right. Well, we got energy technology here on ENPH, NVAX.
Yeah, this is an interesting stock because this whole sector with energy, I think I'm not a believer that we're going much higher in energy. I think we've seen the top of energy.
Well, this one happens to be more in home energy solutions, solar generation, storage. So again, this is in with the new theme. And I think that's why overall it's probably done pretty well. But you can see, definitely.
Just thank God why I don't, sometimes I look at these letters, I almost don't really want to, I like to know the sector, but I don't, to know what it is.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at the technicals. It could be on mashed potatoes, you know what I mean?
Well, this is one of your favorite tells. So I thought I'd draw it in. And of course, it's any trader who's been around.
Yeah.
And that's this divergence that happens that where you get the descending RSI, descending volatility, not volatility, but what am I looking for? Against the momentum, against the increase, the ascending price.
Yeah.
And when that happens, and then you get that signal that I talked about with indecision, followed by the move trade. This was a very, very against another top. From a trader's standpoint, from my standpoint, the way I trade, this is really a perfect signal. I mean, even here, where you had a movement higher, if you took your scalp, anyway, the point is right here. Here's where we are now, and we've come down. We would take our profit on that here, but it looks to me like it's not done. I put this arrow here because may not be done going down. We're looking at some time spent in that band between what we just talked about, 55 and 65, where a bullish, an upward move in a bearish market, let's call this bearish, this upward move here would have topped out, and we had trouble even reaching that. This is something that I really wanted this candle. Let's see if it did it. The closing, it just has to poke below the 8. The close was 73.73, 73.50. So it was just a little bit above. But if this had closed anywhere below, this would have been a short signal from me. Yeah. But the fact that it hasn't, it's still a question. But I do think that I favor the short side of the stock. For the time
what do you
being.
call it? If we started around 120 and went to 190, if it had a Fibonacci 61%, it could go to 148. So maybe it could take out the 160, get everybody really excited, take it to 148, and maybe that'd be a better place to buy.
Yeah.
Is there some tops there that could be any good for support?
Right in this area here.
Yeah. There you go. So that's where I'd be taking a look at it after they scare everybody out on a break of 160, right?
It's funny. Let's take a look here, and there's a lot, a bunch of things who's that guy that used to throw paint on the wall, and then there used to be a guy, I think his name was
Jason Pollock, wasn't it?
Jason Pollock. There's another guy, Uncle Weatherby. I don't know if you remember him. He used to ask people. He was a weatherman. He used to ask people to send him lines and he would take a white flip chart and he'd draw those lines. He'd show you the paper so that he copied on the line. They'd stand back. I mean, they're random lines. And then he would make a picture out of them, a perfect picture that looked like the lines were meant to be like that. That's what I'm looking at here. I mean, I'm looking at, some people would look at this as a head and shoulders bottom that's forming. and they wouldn't be wrong with that perception. You know, so you have to be a little bit careful with the technical analysis from the standpoint of, I like to, although there are some general trends, you really have to see what's going on in the near term. But you know, this is a market. This is also a market that could go sideways for a while. But yeah.
Well, everybody's jumping on the Apple train again. Let's see what it looks like. AAPL.
Yeah, this is Chop City.
Seems like it was having some trouble around 152, isn't it? Did it peak through there this week and then kind of came back down?
Yeah, let's see what I'm looking at. The high here was oops.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like 153.49. Now we're back close at the 151 area. Yeah, you know, how can you hate Apple?
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, you have the naysayers that that hate it, but you know, this is a stock you have to hold.
Well, I mean, it has to be bought every time money comes into an index fund. So
your grandkids, and I mean, I played that game with you know, with Amazon when it was hanging around 1750, and you know, wouldn't leave, and I'm waiting for, I refused to buy it there, just looking for it to hit, you know, 1500, and here it is, you know, a year later, twice the price. So,
yeah.
You know, sometimes when you look at a stock like this, you have to say, and you know the history of this stock where it's split, and you know, 5 for 1 or whatever it was the last one a couple of times. This is a stock that keeps marching on. I mean, don't have to tell you about Apple, but you know, my opinion is that we're in an accumulation phase, and we may see 145 again. Maybe it scares some people at 140, but I think that those would only be buy points.
There was some unusual option activity announced on TV at the 180 mark for October. I think they were buying it. So there are some people betting that there's another 20% leg on the upside coming. Maybe in the fall, you know, going into Christmas or something, whatever, you know.
Well, one of my, you know, if this is a breakout move here, you know, one of my old, and I probably mentioned this because I do it all the time. I still think it's one of the most accurate things you can do. If you count this as an accumulation and take a compass and or take a protractor, is it a compass or a protractor? The compass with the pencil on one end and the pin on the other.
Right.
Which one is that? The compass? Or that's the compass.
Mm-hmm.
You take the pin and put it here, and you take the pencil and put it at the beginning, and then you roll it up in a circle, and wherever it lands on the top is the projection. You can't see it here, but I would say that if I'm looking at this measure and I came down, you're looking at about a, you know, somewhere in the neighborhood of a $40 move. What do you say? So they're talking $30 at 180 calls.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, somebody may be doing that kind of a measurement, you know, looking at.
Yeah, take the width and.
I know a lot of traders that still do that. I know that I do. Because when you see this accumulation, there's just a lot of buying and selling going on with people defending their position, and all the shorts are right here getting squeezed. And you know, if it continues, you know, sometimes you can measure the length by all these people that have to, you know, they wind up having to buy to liquidate, and they become their own worst enemy.
Yeah.
So,
well, this next one, if you want, there's not much to say about Apple other than, you know, people are still thinking there's a big up move, and it certainly has got a solid base in there. So unless it broke under 145, you'd have to say that it's a hold at bare minimum, if not take a chance on some more on any pullback, right?
Yeah, and if you think about it, buying it at 151, and even if you can get it 150, and putting your stop in the low 140s,
and that's not too bad.
That's not too bad a play for a stock like this. But again, you know, there are better things to do, I think, if you're looking for short-term money.
Yeah. Bank of Montreal, they've been bullish on the stock market, and of course, when interest rates went up, yields rose in the first quarter of this year. These bank stocks did great. And since that big spike in interest rates to 175 on the 10-year, and we haven't seen 175 ever since, these stocks haven't gone anywhere ever since. So, you know, big move right after the first quarter jump in yield, but without the higher yield, these things haven't been able to do too much. Yeah. What's the 10-year? 10 years under 130 again.
Is it really? Yeah.
Yeah. So you know, these guys can't make a lot of money down there.
I have one property with still a variable loan, so That's been
Yeah.
great for me for a very long time.
Yeah.
This this to me is a short, and there's a lot of reasons, and some of the things you've just mentioned from a fundamental standpoint, but I just, I'm seeing failure. Generally, when you have this many days where your close is above the open, and you keep dropping, you keep failing, you're ready to see it go the other way. And this is a signal that I talked about again, and a major length here for that against topping accumulation. I just think this is a stock. I mean, it looks like a lot of money, but if you're shorting here at 100 or 150 cents, and you have your stop in at 104.50 or 105, whatever the top is here, a tick above there, I think you've got a pretty good short play to take your scalp right in here. Again, I always liquidate half my positions at the same distance as the extension, as the momentum bar. And, we're coming off here, we're coming down. I think I'm kind of making up a story down here. This is showing me really nothing, because we're not really going back. And although we have come here, we have come up, and maybe we're going down, but it's not as clear as I like it. This is clear to me, and against the double clop is clear to me. And I think this is a trade that's going lower, at least for the time being. We'll see. It may meander. It looks like it's got pretty good support here.
Yeah.
And if I get usually 5 or 6 days on the sideways action, I'll take my short profit there and look for something else as a trader. This kind of a move, I look for something. If we don't get that downward move, before the holiday, I'd be at the short side. But I think we very well could.
Yeah. This next one, I think all the banks probably look the same. You know what I mean? Because they're all having a tug of war between, if these rates are never going to go to 175 again, maybe it's going to be harder for the banks to make money. With regards to AMOV, have you? Let's see here. What the hey is AMOV? We now know they are a Mexican telecom company. I thought Carlos Slim owned all that down there.
Well, apparently he's a buyer.
You ever heard of Carlos Slim? He's supposed to be like the richest guy.
Richest man in the world. He was for a while, I think.
Until El
until
Capo got him, or El Chapo, or whatever.
Yeah, or until the caravans came through there.
Oh no, the founder of this company is Carlos Slim.
Is it?
Yeah, I'm just reading it
What
here.
do you think I was
Headquartered
kidding?
in Mexico City, and it's the 7th largest mobile network operator in terms of. I'll tell you one thing. I love Mexico. EWW look very good to me. I've been picking some of that up. They are getting a good economy going on down there.
Well, you can't. It's hard to fight against a guy like that. I mean, apparently, are they doing infrastructure work also or something? Or, I don't know if they have a government that's giving incentives, but this we're really accelerating here.
Yeah.
In the last
It's only
couple of
19
days.
and change. Only 19 and change, so it's not that expensive.
Yeah, no,
It's been around since 2000. Let's see what it's been doing. Yeah, well, now it went down during the crash down to 10 or something like that, and now it's got it's broken above the high.
Here's the monthly.
Yeah.
Here's the monthly chart on it, and so you're seeing, that we can easily see 26 on this move.
What about EWW, just to get an idea of the general Mexico stock market, because that's the ETF for Mexico.
I never buy a stock that was ooh.
Yeah, I mean, there you go. That's
looks
not
like another recent
bad train to be on. Yeah.
Looks like there's something going on recently. I mean, this is another. I don't keep up with Mexican utilities, but this stock is a little bit different in that it looks like it.
This is a conglomeration of many stocks in Mexico. That's why it's an ETF. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I'm sure they have this in there probably. I mean, you could go to the top 10 holdings and see what they own. Yeah. But we don't have to do that right now. But I'm just saying, a person could do that.
Yeah, and it's taken. Apparently it's something in the I'm sure if it's a fund or if it's a basket, it may have that.
Yeah, it's like anything else. It's a basket of stocks in Mexico, and I'm sure it breaks down from banking to industrial to materials and all that kind of stuff.
Well, I only have one word: caliente.
Yeah, it looks like stuff's going on pretty good down there. The general EWW looks good, and this one in particular looks like something's happening.
Yeah, interesting.
I had heard something about they had bad connections down there, so companies would get paid twice to make the phone call. I know that was something I heard. I couldn't confirm that.
My father said you can grab you by the connections and throw you out the window. So
yeah, that would be a good business if you could get somebody to have to make the same thing twice, get double the revenue.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, NVAX. This one is a volatile one because it is in the biotech space.
Yeah, I wanted to take special pleasure in this. One of my clients is the one that requested this, and he says they're coming out with a new vaccine that's supposed to be superior to the current vaccines for COVID, which would make it the prime candidate for Africa and India and so on in the next phase of vaccine rollout. And I mentioned to you that you mentioned how you've watched the RSI and how it acts with the indexes, and I've noticed that certain stocks work with my system fairly well. And here is where that hesitation, and we've come down leading to a drop. Here's that hesitation with an extension leading to a rise. Here's one that didn't work out, but remember I said if you go sideways for a while, you want out, just enough to see another one that had moves to the side. But this is this is a minor version of it. But the good thing about when you poke your head over the 8, the risk is low. Then this one is kind of working out. But I think mostly I want to point out that we seem to be running in certain bands. And I like to draw these lines when I look at stocks like this. You have, we play until we break to the next band, and then we play in there for a while. If I look at the weekly here, you can see that this floor here is pretty important based on what I'm looking at here. And so if one of his concerns was if it fails, it could really drop because it's being buoyed by this story. If it works, it could go much higher. I think the floor would be this area in 120. So you're looking 120. So you're looking at a 50% drop as a real possibility in a stock like this. As you said, it's volatile because of the sector it's in.
Oh, they make an announcement that something didn't go well. It falls out of bed. If they get a report that they got a new vaccine that your buddy says is better than this or that, it can go to 330 before you can spell NOVAX.
Yeah, and this is I think what usually happens is it drops to the next section. And then when something's confirmed, then it'll even go lower. But you always have the believers in the stories, and that can be good. That can alert you to something that can make you a lot of money vis-a-vis BioNTech. Yeah. But it is dangerous, and I think
it's a live by the sword, die by the sword type of thing, right?
And I think it's telling you here as it's trying to show some life in the breakthrough that it looks like we're this length of accumulation. We could be having that right now.
Maybe it'd be a better thing to look at as a bull call spread, and then you have limited risk, and then you go to bed, and if it happens, it happens.
That's a really good idea. That's a really good idea. All right.
The next one up is something that I've been biting on because I got some information from Jake Bernstein that the commercials looked like they were buying when it was around 215. So 215, we saw some commercial buying and took a bite out of it. And then it looks like it's off to the races, but that big red box might tell me different, right?
The big red box being this one?
There you go. Is that going to be the short-term peak that's going to get blown out, or is that the peak that's going to be a turn?
That, my friend, is the $64,000 question.
Exactly.
this is when when people look for stocks to trade, if you're looking for the quick move, this is what I like to see. And what I've been showing you here is something that I like to, because it involves a scalp and the ability to run. This is the kind of, when I trade, this is the kind of signal that I look for against a failure of a top. And look what you get out of something like this, as opposed to trying to figure out, say what's going on here. But we have, this line right here is, there's just a lot of investment in this range.
Mm-hmm.
And, and when I say investment, some of the larger entities that invest, they defend, going above it if they're short, and they defend going below it if they're long. That's why you might stay in this range. And a lot of times that's indicative when you see a lot of the small bodies, as they just kind of call it a day. But,
if we had a conversation in December and the S&P had a huge fourth quarter, is this thing 265 to 275? Pull it back to a longer
think so.
term
I think Jake is really good at finding, I'm sure he did it on some sort of a seasonal basis. I know he was looking at where the money, he's big on the
commercial stuff. Yeah.
I'm looking at the commercial report.
Mm-hmm.
But he looks at other things too. And, he's very, very good at looking at things like, the timing of these kinds of bottoms. And, again, and here's although it didn't cross the 8, this is that 215 area. This is probably where he was looking to buy, not for my
exactly.
reason.
No, exactly.
But this is, again, sometimes two people looking at things differently have a very similar conclusion. That's a beautiful place. Look, anybody in technical 101 would be looking at all these bottoms, would be looking for a test of the range that's already been, and then seeing a jump off the range. There's a pretty safe move. That was pretty easy money.
Yeah, exactly. But now with that red box up there surrounded by the two greens, is that a high surrounded by lower highs, and then could be a turning point?
Well, I don't think so yet. I think that's a little bit. I was never much of a believer, and I'm really respecting this particular 8 bar
trend. That white line. Yeah.
He's my friend, and I to correct to 122 or whatever that line, 123 area. I certainly would not be abandoning my long positions from here.
No,
until we breach that on some kind of either.
And it might be an ad time, huh?
It could be if you again you get a signal like this, and this kind of a formation. But I really like to look for triggers before I add positions but here's another extension, and I have done well in the past waiting for a retraction against the moving average. So you're accurate there. Because the signal is here or here, and therefore, until you go otherwise, you should be following the trend, which at least for the short term has been established. And of course, we have the highs here. It's all coming together. These recent highs, this 8 bar that's going to be moving up, and a possible descending to that. It's going to be fun to watch.
And you got Microsoft, which is above $300, and I'm just wondering out loud, are these new highs on Microsoft being accompanied by a divergence in the RSI? A little bit, right?
Yeah, let me see. Do we have a divergence in the RSI? You mean just this little bit here?
Yeah, compared to the high up there, right?
Right. With sideways movement and what's really been a kind of a little bit of a drop, especially considering this move and not having much of an effect on the momentum. I would be much more concerned about this coming down. I'm seeing, out of the last 6 bars, you've got 3 or 4 days where we close lower than we open, and that's usually not a good sign. Again, the fact that we're above the 8 makes me not want to panic about it. And this thing is played around the top side of momentum and has fed off it. Microsoft is just another one of those stocks. And it was the original signal where you had the and then this big long ride. You could have gotten shaken out here, but you would have been.
But if we were to take out this green area right there, we're on the pullback, which is around 297 or so. Would that,
This right here,
no, a little bit further over? Yeah. That,
390.
yeah, and
Yeah,
then you're.
yeah, right. Oh, you're talking about here. Yeah, I've got the.
Yeah,
line.
if it's under 296, would that be maybe telling us that pulling back to a more,
Yeah, I think on the closing basis, yes, because it would, you'd be on the other side of the 8 if it happened over the next couple of days.
yeah,
And yeah, I think this, but
somebody's going to
but-
want to take their money at some point, maybe.
well, yeah, I mean,
It's up
this is the kind of thing
84%.
I've just learned to take partial profits. I take the majority of my position when I enter it. I'm not big on adding. I'm very big on taking my profit along the way. And if I had 10 positions of some sort, 1,000 shares, I'd peel off 100 or 200 here. I mean, I'm looking for maybe to reestablish it. But this, Microsoft to trade is not my favorite stock because, it's just such a good buy and hold.
Yeah, it really is a buy and hold. Yeah.
Much better stocks to trade, I think, and get a little bit more bang for your buck. Because I think as you get older, you're looking for, the opportunity to have something happen right now. I mean, you want these Microsofts in your portfolio, but as a trader, I'd much rather be looking at buying tech and some of these other things that are actually moving.
Yeah, and year to date, it's up about 40%. So that's not nothing.
Yeah, that's really something. I mean, this was such a nice buy signal, but yeah.
The next one up is I'm listening to these people in Louisiana, and the governor was there saying that these energy packs are only good for a few days. I thought it would be something that replaced it for a longer period of time.
I don't know. I don't know.
The governor said, now you might have power through a generator, but those generators do only go for 4 days or so. But in the last 5 days, what have we seen?
Don't know what they're talking about. I mean, I have a generator. Well, I have 1,000-gallon tank, propane tank underground. So it's supposed to last for a couple of weeks if I have to, but I guess a lot of people don't have that on the ground, but I don't know exactly what he's talking about. I don't know.
Well, this thing's lost $15 during a hurricane. So you would think it would be going up $15 during a hurricane because it would be showing people that having this type of device, is popular.
Yeah, here's another one that just poked its head over after a bunch of indecision leading to a really nice big move. This, I'm not friendly to this stock for the, again, that you just mentioned a fundamental reason why I'm seeing disappointment here. I mean, anytime I see a tail like this, you see that shooting star that fails against an old high, and it's the third time. The second time you're breaking through an old high. It starts to, and then you've
well, it's up 100% year to date. 100% year to date is not nothing, right?
No, I mean, God. I drew this line because I think this is to me, the more probable event, seeing at least a test of 380. And I also drew this line because I did measure this high as higher than this. And the problem is most, including TradeStation, won't let me draw this line because it kind of disappears up here. But this is an ascending price, though slightly, and this is a descending momentum right in this area where bearish moves tend to top out if this is the beginning of a bearish move. So I'm bearish on this stock.
Yeah, it looks like it's had its day for a while, maybe, huh?
And you can afford to be bearish because if you're bearish and put your stop in above here, you're not risking a whole lot. I don't see another event causing, unless the governor subsidizes generators for the entire state or something.
But I mean, with this kind of a move up 100%, some guy might consider doing some collars up here or replacing some of their shares with call spreads so they have limited risk but still upside.
Yeah, and I think
a lot of things you could do up here to keep you in the game, but also put a little fence around the yard.
Yeah, and I think this could also
so your dog won't run in it.
Yeah, it's just I asked her to turn on the generator. My wife is that we raise monarch butterflies. My wife is going across the street where they have 3 kids, and they're going to release the butterflies. We had 11 of them
Well, it sounds like fun.
It is fun. It is
Yeah.
fun.
All right, this next guy up is Shopify, which year to date is up about 40%. And it also is in the possibly losing altitude club. But what do you think?
First, I am going to close that door because I don't want to sound unprofessional.
Or we'll have to play that song, Who Let the Dogs Out, to
Yeah.
entertain the people while you're doing that, you know?
Yeah, this is, I wrote small bodies here when I looked at this, because whenever I see small bodies,
Yeah.
it usually means continued sideways action. And that's
Okay.
really what we're getting. I mean, all of this is just really a lot of nothing. Shopify, you know, there's a lot of competition coming out for Shopify. You know, besides things that are near it, like Samcart and other
E-commerce platforms.
e-commerce platforms that for the small business.
Yeah, that's
And-
kind of what they specialize in.
Yeah, for the mom and pop, you know, people just starting out that want to build their own sites, but don't really have to have a site. They use it right there. And you know, and it's you measure the need, you know, I think we're getting into the what's growing is the demand for small business and making money on the fly. You know, it's just working at home, and I think winter's coming. We've got COVID that's going to, you know, take its toll to some degree as people move indoors. We're going to have a lot of people indoors taking a shot at making money through places like Shopify. So you have that going on, and then you have the competition going on. I mean, from a fundamental standpoint, I don't see much here, and I think it's been, at least with the current facts out there, and this is what these small bodies are telling me. I mean, you know, if you get to something like this out of a pack of small bodies, you can go with it. But generally, you know, even if you know, went short here, again, I always look for possible failure in the same distance, the same price range as here. So, and we saw that here. So, you know, sideways action. That's what I call.
But your call is it's a hold.
My call is a hold. Yeah, I think it's a hold. I think there is some possibility we could, you know, we could see. I think because Shopify has been coming under some pressure recently, I think it'd be a good candidate from some bigger entity that wanted to get into that niche to buy. So I think there's a lot of good things about Shopify.
Sure. Let's go over two quick biotechs. One is BHVN. They're out of the UK, and they had something going on in Connecticut.
Yeah, I mean, generally, I'm bullish on this. I mean, I'm just seeing a stairway to heaven here. And you know, even listen, we're playing around nicely. We've held nicely here on the bullish support area, where market comes down and holds in Hema's line. We're coming up nicely here. I don't know that you can buy it again. I mean, here's a stock that's doubled since May or whatever. It looks like at least 80%. So there's a lot of air in here. And I think, who's the one that called for I just read an article about him, not Slim Pickens, but somebody who called for the crash in the stock market and made him. He's famous for shorting everything.
Oh yeah, Michael Burry.
He's looking for that, and you know, this is the kind of thing when I see these. I mean, this is a bullish chart,
right?
But you know, when it's gone up this much, you have to be, you know, you really should be waiting for pullbacks.
All right. Well, what about the IBB? It's a one-stop shop for biotech. In the last year, it's up 30%. In the last 6 months, it's only up 7 or 8. So
Yeah.
Is this a stall and then an accelerate, or has this thing lost its engine?
And this is, again, I'll wait for a signal, and I think it may be coming. That's why I put this here. I would be looking for a short trade here. This is one of those stocks that does seems to respond nicely to that hesitation and then the expansion, hesitation and then expansion. Nice chop here, nice to scalp here before it went higher. And now we're seeing that string of indecision that I like to see before we get a signal on the short side. I think we get in the signal on the short side, especially if we start to challenge a line that you can draw here. You know, you can see 150 on this stock.
What if I tell you the 1 year it's up 30%, in 6 months it's up about 8%, and in the last 1 month it's up 3.8%. That sounds like a shrinking violet.
Yeah, it does. It sounds like it does. Not like the black, as long as it's not like the black daisy. What was that?
The black dahlia.
Black dahlia. Yeah, the dahlia.
All right, I think we've given enough non sequiturs for 1 hour. Let's wrap this up, Norm, and let everyone know how to get a hold of you. And if you have any special offers, why don't you extend them at this time?
Okay, I will do that. But before I do that, I want
yeah.
to just tell you that I think gold may be ready to go. I told you more of a you know, I've been really waiting for some idea that it will. I've shown you enough about here. Here is one of those short signals I talked about. It gave me a nice profit here. Here just gave me a nice long signal against a test of this double bottom back in April and March. We're riding that 8 again, and then we're coming to what is resistance here. We break through here. I think we see 1900 pretty quickly, and that, you know, gold is something that builds momentum, and so I just want people to watch for the possibility here. Now it's not certainly confirming here, because this would be topping area here, but it's something that you really want to take a look at. So just wanted to.
I just wanted to look at something that I've been looking at on gold and see if it kind of confirms it, because I've been using this 1 year moving average on my 20-year graph on the gold, and it has not been able to sustain above it, which has kept me out of it up to this point. But I did not look at it lately, and I just wanted to see if my numbers might confirm.
I'm not sure how to do a 1 year moving average.
Yeah, well, I don't either. I have a machine that does it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay, so here you go. Yeah. I got a moving average coming in here. The three that I look at: 1815, 1830, excuse me, 1734 and 1594. So we'd like it to stay above 1600 and 1735 ballpark. And if it starts closing above 1815, it should be very constructive. And Jake's number was 1865. So
interesting. Well, at least I don't like to disagree with Jake when I talk commodities. 1816 just closed over that today. But further, I will just show you real quickly the weekly.
The 1 year is tilting down a little bit, which is not a positive. But the bottom line is that it's getting above it, and that 1 year can turn around pretty fast if it starts going up.
Yeah, there's reason to believe it. I mean, I'm getting the same sign in the weekly, the hesitation with the move higher, and on the monthly, let me spell it correctly.
Seems like you'd pretty much put your stop at between 1800 and 1790 if you wanted to be long right now. Do you think those numbers make it?
Yeah, I think that's good numbers. All right, let me give you. I do want to say that I mentioned that most of my effort is in the mental and emotional area. So if you would, I'm running something called the 5-day pull the trigger without hesitation challenge. If you find yourself hesitating to pull the trigger, you don't want to lose again because you lost a few times before, maybe you lift to stop because you don't want to get hit. You're not following your trading plan like you really believe that you should. My promise to you that in the 5 days of this challenge, and all I'm demanding from you is about 15 minutes a day of your time for 5 days, I will have you pulling the trigger without hesitation after 5 days. And if you're interested in that, and it starts the day after Labor Day. And they're just videos that I'll put out. You can watch them any time of the day on each of those 5 days. But if you're looking to pull the trigger without hesitation, let me just show you real quickly. Not sure what that was. Let me just give you the link. Would be thedisciplinedtrader.com/pull trigger. I'll write it in the chat. thedisciplinedtrader.com/pull trigger. And even if for some reason you're not going to get, oops, did I get that right? Yes, even if for some reason you're not going to be able to, maybe I should put the HTTP in there, right? disciplinedtrader.com/pull trigger. If you're not going to be back until the day after Labor Day because you're on a trip, don't worry about it. It's easy to catch up when they're only 10 to 15 minute chunks. The videos themselves are all under 10 minutes each day. Then I ask you to do a little bit of something that'll take you 5 or 10 minutes. So I'm really excited about it. And I know that most traders believe that the whole answer is just finding the right stock or commodity and doing it right. But the real answer is between your ears. And I've proven that so many times, and studies have proven it. So if you have the issue of not following your trading plan like you should, join me. It's free. thedisciplinedtrader.com/pull trigger.
Okay, sounds good, Norman. And we love to have you here. We'll be having you back, of course, again soon. Optionprofessor.com. That's the website we have for people who want to get our weekly update, where we cover everything from the stock market to the bond, commodity, and international markets. So we have a lot to talk about. Optionprofessor.com. Put your email in and you'll get updated every single week. Right now, we're going back to David Kosmeter. Everybody have a great Labor Day, and we'll be back at it after the holiday. David?
All right, thanks, guys. Yeah, covered a lot of good info today. So just a quick reminder for everyone, be sure to subscribe to Timing Research on YouTube and your favorite podcast app. You can also go to just TimingResearch.com to get access to the archive of this show as soon as I can get posted, as well as any of the past shows and reports. And I just want to thank my guests again for today, Norman Hallett of thedisciplinedtrader.com.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for being back. And the Option Professor of optionprofessor.com. Thanks, everyone.